The chains bit into Maya's wrists as rough hands shoved her onto the auction platform. Around her, the Dralnari crowd chittered in their clicking language, their forearms gesturing excitedly at the merchandise. She scanned the holding pens desperately, searching for two small faces among the dozens of terrified humans huddled in the cages. There, Liam pressed against the bars, his 6-year-old frame protecting his little sister Zara. Their eyes met across the marketplace, and Maya mouthed 3 words, "I love you." The auctioneer's translator crackled to life. Female, strong build, suitable for heavy labor or breeding stock. Maya's stomach turned, but she forced herself to stand tall. Weakness meant a worse buyer. Weakness meant separation from her children forever. A tall Dralnari in expensive robes raised 2 of his arms. The bidding started. Maya counted the other bidders, calculating odds she didn't want to face. When the gavel finally fell, the wealthy merchant who'd won her gestured with a dismissive flick. Guards dragged her off the platform. She twisted back, screaming her children's names until a shock stick silenced her. 3 days in the mines taught Maya that her new owner, Vex, valued efficiency over cruelty. He didn't beat his slaves without reason. He simply worked them until they dropped, then replaced them. The tunnels ran deep beneath Dralnara's purple surface, extracting crystal and ore that powered their cities. Maya's engineering background meant nothing here. She was muscle and nothing more. On the 4th day, she bribed a guard with her last possession, her mother's ring, for 5 minutes near the slave pens. What she found destroyed her. The human children sat in filth, their rations barely enough to sustain a Dralnari child, let alone a growing human. Liam had lost weight. Zara wouldn't stop crying. A teenage girl named Kelly held an infant who'd gone silent, too weak even to whimper. Maya returned to the mines with fire in her chest. That night, she requested an audience with Vex. The guards laughed, but she refused to move from his estate gates until they dragged her before him. Vex reclined on a cushioned platform, eating what looked like fruit while reviewing data tablets. He barely glanced at her. "Speak quickly, human. Your shift begins in 6 hours. I want to make a deal." Maya kept her voice steady, despite her racing heart. "The human children are dying. Their biology requires different nutrition than yours. I can work triple shifts. Any task you assign if you provide proper rations for them." One of Vex's eyes swiveled toward her, intrigued. "You would destroy yourself for offspring that aren't even yours?" "Yes, fascinating." He tapped his tablet with a clawed finger. "Triple shifts in the deep tunnels. The ore there is toxic to my people, but your species seems resistant. You will meet quotas that would kill 2 Dralnari workers. In exchange, the human juveniles receive double rations. Fail once, and the deal ends. Do you accept?" Maya thought of Liam's hollow cheeks, Zara's tears, that silent infant. "I accept." The deep tunnels were worse than anything she'd imagined. The air burned her lungs. The ore cut through gloves, leaving her hands bleeding. The temperature swung from freezing to scorching as she moved between veins. Other slaves lasted days down there before collapsing. Maya lasted because every swing of her pick was for 24 children who needed her alive. She learned to pace herself, to find pockets of breathable air, to wrap her hands in torn fabric before the gloves disintegrated. She learned which tunnel supports were weakening and reported them to prevent cave-ins that would kill Vex's investment. Her quotas climbed. Vex gave her better equipment, not from kindness, but from practicality. She was earning him fortune. Months passed. The children grew stronger. Liam started teaching the younger ones math and reading. Scratching lessons in the dirt. Zara smiled again. Kelly's infant survived and began to thrive. Maya's body screamed in protest every morning, but she rose anyway. Then the sickness came. It started in the markets, a coughing illness that spread like wildfire through the Dralnari population. Their immune systems, evolved on a world with limited pathogens, had no defense against the alien microbe. Within weeks, thousands were dying. The slave markets closed. Production halted as workers fell ill. Vex himself took to his bed. His breathing labored. Maya watched from the mines as the Dralnari world descended into chaos. She recognized the symptoms from xenobiology courses she'd taken a lifetime ago on Earth. This looked like a coronavirus variant, possibly mutated from the human population. If she was right, human antibodies might hold the key to survival. She approached Vex's chief overseer, a gruff Dralnari named Kree. "I need to speak with your master about the plague." Kree's translator barked laughter. "He sees no one, especially not slaves. Tell him the humans might have the cure." That got his attention. An hour later, Maya knelt beside Vex's sickbed. The merchant's skin had lost its vibrant purple hue, fading to a sickly gray. His breathing rattled wetly in his chest. "Explain," he wheezed. "Your people have no immunity to certain pathogens. Humans do. Our species evolved fighting thousands of diseases. Our blood carries antibodies your scientists could use to develop a cure." Maya leaned forward. "Let me help. Why would you save us?" Vex's eyes held genuine confusion. "We enslaved you. Because children are dying. Dralnari children, and I'm a mother who can't watch any child suffer, no matter what species." Vex stared at her for a long moment. Then he made a decision that would change everything. "Kree, take her to the palace. Tell the Queen's physicians that I send this human with a proposal. If they execute you both for this impudence, so be it. I'm dying anyway." The royal palace towered over the capital city, its spires reaching toward Dralnara's twin moons. Maya had never imagined she'd see the inside. Guards in ceremonial armor escorted her through halls lined with precious metals and ancient artwork. She felt utterly out of place in her mining rags, her hands still bandaged from yesterday's work. The Queen's chamber was filled with physicians and advisors, all arguing in rapid-fire Dralnari. At the center, on a bed that could have held 20 humans, lay a small figure. The Queen's child, barely older than Zara, struggled for each breath. The Queen herself stood vigil, all four of her arms trembling. When Maya entered, silence fell. A senior physician hissed something that the translator rendered as, "How dare you bring this filth before Her Majesty?" But the Queen raised one hand. "Let the humans speak." Maya bowed, then launched into her proposal. She explained viral immunity, antibody production, serum development. The physician scoffed, but she pressed on. "Test my blood. If I'm wrong, you lose nothing. If I'm right, you save your world." "And what do you want in return?" the Queen asked quietly. "Your freedom?" Maya thought of Liam and Zara, of Kelly and the infant, of 24 children who depended on her triple shifts for their daily bread. Freedom for all the human children, immediate release from bondage, with safe passage to a colony ship, if one can be found. The adults can remain as workers if needed, but the children go free. And improved conditions for those who stay, proper rations, medical care, dignity. An advisor sputtered. "Preposterous. You ask us to upend our entire economic system for untested theories from a slave species?" The Queen looked at her dying child, then back at Maya. "Take her blood. All of it if necessary. Run every test. If this human's gift saves even one life, I will personally ensure her terms are met." The next 72 hours blurred together. Dralnari scientists drew Maya's blood, studied it, isolated antibodies, and began synthesizing a serum. She donated until she was dizzy, then donated more. Vex, hearing of the Queen's endorsement, sent the strongest human workers to also provide samples. The scientists worked around the clock. On the 4th day, they injected the Queen's child with the experimental treatment. Maya sat outside the medical chamber, too exhausted to stand, praying to gods she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. Liam and Zara had been brought to the palace at her request. They slept curled against her, their breathing soft and even. The door opened. The Queen emerged, and Maya's heart stopped at the expression on her face. Then the Queen knelt, bringing herself eye-level with Maya, and pressed her forehead to the humans in a gesture of profound respect. "My child breathes easily for the first time in weeks. The fever has broken. You saved her life." Word spread through the capital within hours. The human slaves had provided the cure. Mass production of the serum began immediately, with willing human donors receiving better food and conditions in exchange for their blood. Thousands of Dralnari lives were saved in the following weeks. The plague's grip loosened, then broke entirely. But not everyone celebrated. In the halls of power, conservative factions raged against the new status humans were gaining. The slave trade represented enormous wealth. Entire industries depended on cheap human labor. To grant them equality would collapse the economy, they argued. It would upset the natural order. Maya felt the tension building as she attended meetings to discuss the formal treaty. The Queen had been true to her word, drafting legislation that would free all human children and grant adults citizenship if they chose to stay. But the Council of Lords fought every clause, every provision. Debates turned to shouting matches. Vex, recovered from the plague, became an unexpected ally. The humans saved us, he argued before the council. This Maya, worked herself nearly to death to feed children who weren't her own, then offered her very blood to save our species. What does it say about us if we respond to such nobility with continued oppression? The head of the council, an ancient lord named Thorax, slammed his staff against the floor. It says we are practical. We are survivors. We do what we must to maintain order and prosperity. Then we are no better than the plague, Vex shot back, consuming everything we touch and leaving only death behind. The vote was scheduled for 3 days hence. Maya spent those days with her children, teaching them about Earth, about humanity's long history of fighting for freedom. She told them about heroes and martyrs, about ordinary people who changed the world through extraordinary courage. She didn't tell them about the whispered threats she'd been receiving, the shadowy figures she'd seen following her through the palace corridors. The night before the vote, Maya put Liam and Zara to bed in their new quarters, rooms provided by the Queen herself. She kissed their foreheads and promised them tomorrow would bring a new beginning. She believed it with her whole heart. She was walking back to her own room when the attack came. Assassins in dark clothing emerged from alcoves, blades glinting in the low light. Maya's mining-hardened reflexes saved her life in the first seconds, dodging a strike that would have opened her throat. She grabbed a decorative stand and swung it like a club, catching one attacker in the chest. But there were 5 of them, and she was alone. A blade caught her shoulder. Another sliced across her ribs. She fought with everything she had, screaming for guards, for anyone. Her blood painted the marble floor as she struggled. Then the Queen arrived with her personal guard, having heard the commotion. The assassins fled, but not before their leader spat at Maya's feet. "This isn't over, human. You'll never be more than property." The Queen's physicians stabilized Maya's injuries. As they worked, the Queen sat beside her, 2 of her arms holding Maya's hand. "They fear change more than death itself, but they will not stop what is right. Your Majesty," Maya whispered through pain medication, "if the vote fails tomorrow, if your council refuses to free my people, promise me one thing. Promise me the children still go free. Not the adults, not me, just them. They deserve a chance." "The vote will not fail," the Queen said firmly. "I will make certain of it." The council chamber was packed the next day. Maya attended despite her injuries, flanked by Liam and Zara. Vex sat in the merchant section, his support clear. Human workers filled the gallery, allowed to witness for the first time in their species' history on Dralnara. The debate was fierce. Lord Thorax made impassioned arguments about economic collapse and social chaos. Other lords echoed his concerns. But then the Queen stood, and silence fell. "Honored Council," she began, her voice carrying through the chamber. "3 months ago, my child lay dying. I stood helpless, watching the light fade from her eyes, knowing all our wealth and power meant nothing against the plague. Then this human, this slave we had brutalized and exploited, offered everything she had to save us, not for reward, not for freedom. But because she could not bear to watch children suffer," the Queen gestured to Maya. "She traded her strength for bread to feed human children. She traded her blood for a cure to save our children. She has given us everything, and we debate whether to grant her people basic dignity. We are better than this. We must be better than this." The Queen's voice hardened. "I invoke my emergency powers as monarch. The treaty will be signed today. All human children under the age of 16 are granted immediate freedom, with education and housing provided by the state. All adult humans are offered citizenship, with full rights and protections under law. Those who wish to return to human space will be provided transport at our expense. Those who choose to stay will receive fair wages and working conditions. This is not negotiable. This is justice." Lord Thorax stood, fury in his eyes. "You overstep your authority, Your Majesty. The council will remember that my child lives because of human compassion," the Queen interrupted, "and the council will ask themselves what kind of civilization we wish to build. One based on exploitation and fear, or one based on mutual respect and cooperation?" The vote was called. It wasn't unanimous. 7 lords voted against the treaty, Thorax among them, but 43 voted in favor. The chamber erupted in noise, some cheering, some protesting. Maya felt Liam grab her hand on one side, Zara on the other. She squeezed back, tears streaming down her face. The treaty was signed that evening in a ceremony broadcast across Dralnara. The Queen used all 4 of her hands to affix her seal, then handed the ceremonial pen to Maya. "As the first human to be granted citizenship, and in recognition of your service to our people, I ask you to witness this document." Maya signed with shaking hands. Her signature, written in humanity's alphabet, sat beside the Queen's elaborate seal. It was done. They were free. The days that followed were chaotic and beautiful. Human children screamed with joy as they were released from the slave pens. Families reunited, weeping and laughing. Some adults chose to leave, accepting passage on a Dralnari ship headed toward human-controlled space. Others stayed, intrigued by the opportunities this new world offered. Maya chose to stay. The Queen appointed her as the first human ambassador to Dralnara, a position she accepted with humility and determination. Liam and Zara enrolled in Dralnari schools, where they struggled with the language but excelled in mathematics and science. Kelly became a nurse, working with Dr. Nari physicians to improve cross-species medicine. The infant she'd cared for, a boy named Marcus, grew strong and healthy. Vex became Maya's unlikely friend. He confessed to her one day, months after the treaty, that owning slaves had troubled him even before meeting her. "I told myself it was simply business, the way things were done. But you showed me that the way things are done can be wrong. Thank you for that revelation, even though it cost me a fortune and lost labor." Maya laughed. "You'll survive, Vex. I hear you're investing in new mining equipment to replace slave labor. How's that going?" "Surprisingly well. Turns out paying workers fair wages motivates them to work harder than fear ever did." "Who knew?" His eyes twinkled with humor. Not everything was peaceful. Extremist factions continued to oppose human integration. There were protests, occasional violence, discrimination that the new laws couldn't immediately erase. Maya worked tirelessly to build bridges, to prove that humans and Dralnari could coexist as equals. She established cultural exchange programs, joint business ventures, educational initiatives. 1 year after the treaty signing, the Queen invited Maya to the anniversary celebration. As Maya entered the palace, no longer in rags but in formal diplomatic attire, she marveled at how far they'd all come. The Queen's child, now healthy and vibrant, raced up to greet her, chattering excitedly about a science project she was working on with Liam. During the ceremony, the Queen presented Maya with Dralnara's highest civilian honor, the Star of Unity, for demonstrating that true strength lies not in dominance, but in compassion, for teaching us that the measure of a civilization is how it treats the vulnerable, for showing us a better way. Maya accepted the medal, but when she spoke, she looked past the Queen to the crowd of humans and Dr. Nari gathered together. This honor belongs to every human who suffered in chains and refused to let it break their spirit. To every child who survived when survival seemed impossible. To every Dralnari who chose justice over profit, compassion over cruelty. We built this new world together, one act of kindness at a time. That night, Maya stood on her apartment balcony with Liam and Zara, watching the twin moons rise over the city. Below, humans and Dralnari moved through the streets together, no longer divided by the chains of slavery, but united by the bonds of shared struggle and mutual respect. "Mom," Liam asked, "do you ever regret it? Staying here instead of going back to find other humans?" Maya considered the question carefully. She thought about Earth, destroyed in the war that had sent their colony ship fleeing into space. She thought about the uncertain fate of other human settlements scattered across the galaxy. Then she looked at her children, safe and free, with opportunities she'd never dreamed possible. "This is home now," she said finally. "We helped build something beautiful here. Something that proves humans and aliens can be more than enemies, or master and slave. We can be friends, partners, family. That's worth staying for." Zara yawned and leaned against Maya's side. "Tell us the story again, Mom, about how you traded bread for freedom." Maya smiled and corrected her gently. "I traded my strength for bread, sweetheart. I traded compassion for freedom. And I'd make that trade again every single day." She held her children close as the city lights sparkled below them, a testament to what could be built when kindness proves stronger than cruelty, when a mother's love for all children transcended the boundaries of species. Maya had come to this world in chains, but she had broken those chains not with violence or hatred, but with the radical act of caring for those who couldn't care for themselves. In the end, that simple choice to feed hungry children had reshaped an entire civilization. It proved that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their resilience or their technology or their capacity for violence. It was their unwavering belief that every life had value, that every child deserved protection, that compassion was never weakness but the ultimate form of courage. The human who had been sold as property became the ambassador who negotiated peace. The slave who had worked herself to exhaustion for bread became the leader who fed a world with hope. And the mother who had fought for her children became the symbol of a new era, where humans and Dralnari built a future together, one kind act at a time. Maya's story spread beyond Dralnara. Carried by traders and travelers to other worlds, it became a legend whispered in slave markets and palaces alike, a reminder that even in the darkest circumstances, one person's choice to show compassion could change everything. Other enslaved humans heard the tale and found courage. Other alien civilizations heard it and questioned their own practices. The ripples of her actions would continue long after Maya's lifetime, inspiring generations to come. But in that moment, standing on her balcony with her children sleeping peacefully beside her, Maya wasn't thinking about legacy or legend. She was simply grateful for the chance to be a mother, to watch her children grow up free, to live in a world where kindness had proven stronger than hate. She had traded her strength for bread. She had traded her blood for freedom. And in doing so, she had saved not just her children, but an entire world's soul.